Hello, everyone. And how did we do with the new moon last week? Hope that you all had a fantastic week. Let's go ahead and look at this week's forecast. As always, I have time-stamped all of the aspects below in Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to convert that to your current time zone. And let's go ahead and we will share the wheel of what's happening planetarily and follow along with those aspects outlined. Okay, so Monday. Let's talk about the beginning of the week. We have a lot of really nice kind of giddy up and go energy at the beginning of our week. We start off with Venus in Virgo, who is on the edge of transitioning into Libra, which we'll talk about later this week. So very exciting. She will be out of her least favorite sign and into her sign of rulership. Really, really great transition point. But Venus will make a nice trine to Pluto, which will start to heal the subconscious. Venus will also conjoin Mercury in Virgo, the ruler of Virgo, as Mercury also gets ready to release from retrograde. Lots of kind of closing of toxic chapters this week, which is super great. And Venus's healing influence is a large part of that. Now, we do have a hard aspect in the afternoon on Monday at 3:17 p.m. Eastern as the Sun opposes Jupiter in Aries. This is the last opposition that's going to happen for a little while until Venus moves to oppose Jupiter, and then Mercury will as well. But everybody's opposing Jupiter. And this Jupiter in Aries, this kind of bombastic expansion, needs to be counterbalanced with balance, the sign of fairness and justice. So we're going to see a lot of that tug of war continuing to happen at the beginning of this week. Now, my favorite part of Monday has to be the back-to-back air trines. It's not a grand trine because there are several aspects until we have the Mars trine Saturn, but the moon will be applying to that Mars trine Saturn and making a trine to Mars and then a trine to Saturn at 10:53 and 11:44, giving us a rush of wind, a rush of air energy, lots of communication, lots of exchanging of messages, lots of mentalism, and the mind starting to really kick into high gear. I really enjoy the end of Monday for a lot of that energetic wind. Also, oddly enough, how astrology affects the weather, we are currently about to experience a hurricane in Florida, which is a windy natural event. So I really love how astrology can sometimes be super literal. Okay, but that is going to be Monday. I'm a huge fan of Monday. I think it's going to be a great part of the week. Okay, on to Tuesday's aspects, looking at the beginning of our morning having Mercury trining Pluto in Capricorn. That Mercury Virgo is really helping to go back over the finer details, and Pluto as representing the subconscious means that we're still in some of that cleaning mode that we got into on Sunday. But as we move into the midday, the moon in Libra will square retrograde Pluto and Capricorn. So that's going to be a point of tension. Take it easy on Tuesday afternoon around lunchtime, as tempers will likely be high and we'll have some conflict in the air around that time. But the moon will move into the watery sign of Scorpio at 7:15, putting us into our feelings, putting us into the yin of Mars on Mars's day, that kind of deeper, darker, more introspective energy of Scorpio. So Tuesday, relatively benign overall, besides that square midday. So I really enjoy Tuesday. And Wednesday, we have retrograde Saturn trining Mars in Gemini. This will be an aspect that will occur overnight, so we won't get to enjoy a lot of its benefits, but some of you may have trouble sleeping on Wednesday night because of all of this air energy. Mars in Gemini wants us to consider options. Saturn in Aquarius retrograde wants us to remember to focus. And there are two kind of opposing aspects of air happening at the same time, which may upstart the mind just a little bit and keep you from achieving that actual rested subconscious state, because there will be a lot of buzz happening between those two malefic planets in air signs. As we move into Wednesday night, however, we're going to trigger a purge. The moon will conjoin the south node in Scorpio, and this is our point of purging. It's our monthly sign to flush everything down the toilet, both physically and metaphysically, as Scorpio does rule the large intestine as well as the reproductive area. There is going to be just this need to kind of release and let go, and for good reason, because Thursday is our major aha day where we have just so much beauty happening and a double aspect. So let's get to Thursday. So Thursday is my favorite day this week for a couple reasons. One, we have two aspects happening at the exact same time, to the minute, which is very rare in astrology. Venus will move into Libra at 3:49 a.m. Eastern, and then the moon will oppose retrograde Uranus and Taurus at the same time. I think that this is really interesting because Venus is ruling Uranus. Uranus being the planet of the unpredictable, of being uprooted, of natural disasters, having to kind of navigate the end of that hurricane as well. And then Venus moving from the organized sign of Virgo, who is technically her least favorite sign, and then moving into Libra, the sign of fairness, balance, and justice. So we may see this is a really great aspect to understand disaster relief because it is Venus moving into Libra and the moon opposing Uranus. It is a perfect representation of things that are dark, things that are wet, things that are chaotic being moved into order. So I think that that's just fun looking at the larger theme of what's happening. We do have a little bit of a bump, 4:57. The moon will square Saturn, not always a great thing. So we may have some bumpy astro weather on Thursday night as well. But as the moon moves through the rest of the day, we have a really sleepy, wet, and emotional water trine from Neptune, as well as a sextile to Mercury and Pluto. I think the second half of Thursday, people will kind of be in their heads a little bit, just not really here energetically. So Thursday afternoon is kind of like a throwaway afternoon. Just don't plan to get anything productive done because people will most likely just be elsewhere, especially when Neptune gets involved. It blurs the consciousness and it really puts us between worlds instead of being able to focus on one thing at any given time. Okay. Into Friday, we start to heat things up though. So as always, after we have the moon moving through Scorpio, moon then moves into Sagittarius. First thing on Friday morning, could not wait. Moon goes into 12:04 a.m. Sagittarius. Then makes a sextile to Venus, congratulating Venus on her transition, and then makes a really strong fire trine to Jupiter and Aries. So we have the moon being ruled by Jupiter, making a trine to Jupiter in a fire sign. We have had a repeat of this aspect for several months now. As opposed to our deep water, we have very strong fire to complement it. This is where we get into a lot of that evaporation happening. It's all fire and air and really strong aspects on Friday. So Friday is my day to like go, go, go. It's going to be the day to get things done, to move things around, to really be heated, to bring things to a bubble, to bring things to a simmer, and to really evaporate some of the heavy, dense, and transitional energy that may be stuck in your system. So Friday, really plan to be a little bit more active and a little bit more energetic. Okay, moving on to Saturday. Saturday's aspects, we have first and foremost Mercury stationing into Virgo. So Mercury coming to the end of the retrograde cycle over the next couple days. Not until Monday will Mercury go direct officially, but Mercury has officially stationed on Saturday. And then we get into a sextile here and an opposition here. But what I find interesting is the moon will oppose Mars and then Venus will oppose Jupiter. Why this is significant is because the moon opposes Mars and Jupiter is in Mars's sign. And I really like that there are two oppositions happening around the middle of the day, Saturday. It paints a very clear picture of our Saturday afternoon being of opposition. And then the end of Saturday afternoon is going to be conflict, where the moon squares Neptune and then squares stationed Mercury. So unfortunately, Saturday is going to be one of our more chaotic days, one of our more friction-based days, even though Sunday is a close contender. But we have two oppositions followed by two squares, which does put the level of tension higher on Saturday. Our emotions squaring Mars tell us that we cannot be overly scattered and we cannot pick sides either. It's kind of this nebulous in between energy. Venus looking for fairness, opposing Jupiter and Aries, just like the Sun did earlier in the week. We see a repeat of that energy. And then the Moon making two squares to Neptune and Mercury, just again, kind of muddying and confusing and disassociating would be a good way to kind of peg that energy. And then we move into Sunday. And Sunday, as we look at the aspects, the moon moves into Capricorn early at 3:38 a.m., but then makes a series of squares throughout the day. Squares, again, friction-based aspects. We do not like to see squares throughout the day for a smooth day because squares are the embodiment of friction. So the moon will square Jupiter, Venus, and then the sun in Libra. As we start to get throughout our day, just recognize that Sunday is going to be the toughest out of all of them. And that's not nice. But knowing ahead, you can plan for a little bit more rest. You can plan for a little bit more ease. You can, in advance, choose peace over conflict. And really just remember that whatever you schedule for Sunday will have just a little bit of prickliness, a little bit of those thorns coming out as heat builds between Capricorn, the sign of cardinal earth and business and focused progress over time, and Aries and Libra, the sign of initiation and then the sign of balance. So there is some cardinal friction that's happening for anybody with Aries, Libra, Capricorn. Also, I would throw Cancer, the other cardinal sign, in there. Sunday would be the day to avoid the most. So that is your forecast for the week. We've got some really interesting aspects, transitions, closing of chapters, and moving into ease, as well as some water and fire and air to really bring things into an excited state over the next week. Good luck. Stay safe for those of you in the natural disasters that are happening throughout the world right now. Just understand that the astrology, even though it seems really trivial, can help you to kind of personify and cope with some of the bigger things that are happening on a global scale. At least that's how I like to view it. But until next time, may the stars be ever in your favor.